Welcome to the Ced Podcast, the podcast for inspiring as well as aspiring authors and speakers. Now, here's your host, dynamic author and speaker, Cedric L. Threets.
Well, hello, great people. Why do I call you great? Because, hey, somebody's got to be great today. It might as well be you. Welcome once again to the Ced Podcast. I'm your host, Cedric L. Threet, a.k.a. Cedric the Edutainer, or just Simple Cedric. I'm just Simple Cedric. Welcome once again to the Ced Podcast, the podcast for inspiring as well as aspiring authors and speakers. Today, I have a guest that I know you're going to enjoy. This gentleman is a poet. You know, I told you in my first episode that I got started doing all this simply by being entered in a poetry reading contest by my seventh grade literature teacher, Miss Patrick, entered me in that poetry reading contest. And I have been reading and writing poetry ever since. So I am always excited whenever I can get to meet and talk with a fellow poet. This gentleman, his name is Jamil Glenn. He goes by the poet Jamil. I'm going to read his bio for you here. Poet Jamil, also known as Beham's poet or the people's poet, is an American poet. His desire is to be not just a poet, but an inspiration to the world. Poet Jamil was born in Birmingham, Alabama on the West Side. His literary works reflect his Southern roots and godly core values passed down to him from his parents and grandparents. Poet Jamil was influenced to start writing poetry once he discovered his oldest sister's notebook. His mother also wrote poetry as well as plays for the youth in their local church. Wow, that's great. Mm-hmm. Poet Jamil's literary work also highlights the many creative artists and leaders, both past and present, from his city and beyond. He has started performing at an open mic events at the historic Bars and Brews at the Birmingham Library. They have poetry events at the library. And Poet Jamil, his goal is to uplift, encourage, motivate, promote, and support those positive people that are on the same similar road that he himself is traveling. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to my dear friend, Mr. Poet Jamil. What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going?
It is going well. What you been up to these days?
Yeah, nothing much. Just been working and enjoying life, enjoying family, and working on getting myself back out there. And
oh, you have your book there.
Yeah, putting my book out and
okay.
Getting back to the open mics. Just recently, me and my wife just recently celebrated 2 years of marriage.
2 years of marriage. Congratulations.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Yeah, just enjoying life, enjoying family and working and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about the book. I see you had a book there, man. Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, yeah. So this book is called Poems of a West Side Native.
Okay.
And it's Mr. said in my bio, I'm from the west side of Birmingham. That's West End, to be exact.
Okay.
So I came up over there. So, a lot of my poems reflect, my upbringing in Birmingham and Southern roots, because I have a lot of family from the country.
Okay.
So I don't know how many people out there have heard places called Sulligent, Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
and Fayette, Alabama, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of roots throughout Mississippi, like Columbus, Mississippi, and
Okay.
Scooter, Mississippi,
Yeah.
Kemper County. So so I'm a city boy, but I got a lot of country in my blood too. And just a lot of my poems reflect back to when I was a kid. Going to the country around Christmas and Thanksgiving and watching all the women cooking food and things like that. And everybody cooked from scratch. All my grandparents, they had gardens. They grew corn and different vegetables. A lot of things that we should even do now where we are,
Okay.
planting our own foods and things like that. And sometimes I wish we could get back to the old time and make things from scratch again, because
Get
those,
back to the good old days, as they
yeah, that was amazing.
call
Yeah,
it. So your poetry, your writing reflects. I know you've heard the term where you can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. So
yeah,
so a lot of your writing, does it reflect, like you said, your upbringing in the country and those areas, those rural
right.
areas that you named?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Definitely.
So give us a little bit of it, man. I want you to, as we call in the poetry world, we call it spit. Let's spit a little bit. I'm gonna let you spit a little bit.
Definitely. Yeah. Let's get those finger snaps ready. So I got a poem that I'm gonna read. It's called Thankful and Grateful. I'm gonna read it right out of the book. Just bear with me. Here it is. So it's called Thankful and Grateful. It says, 87 was the year. Mama carried a legend. I was born to jump to giant, tall in stature. You can't miss me, forever bedded into your memory. My poetry is a vital part of me, deeply rooted into the souls of humankind. I am legacy. I am Southern unique. Birmingham raised me, a country bumpkin with family roots in Mississippi, Vernon, Fed, and Sullivan. Southern fed a plate of wisdom with a side of neck bones, cornbread, and collard greens, served by the hands of Gert Esther Phelps, Dorothy Faye, Annie Lou, and Perline. It was through their love that they preserved the bloodline of Lizzie and Jim Henry. It's nothing like the family, a vital part of our Blackness. Our community depends on it. Let's get back to the very essence. Let's rejoin hands around the dinner table. Let's disconnect from the internet and cable. Let's bow our heads once again. Let's be thankful and grateful.
Wow, wow. I'm snapping my fingers. I know you guys listening, you can't see me snapping. You can probably hear me. I'm snapping my fingers because that's what we do in the poetry world. We don't clap, we snap our fingers. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And I was hearing as you were reading that, it was taking me back to those meals at the dinner table, like you mentioned. And also the people who made those meals, and getting back to those days, bowing our head at the table and being grateful. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So is this your first book?
Well, so my first book that I had, it was called I Am Birmingham, the People's Poet. And it was one of those poems where it was one of those books where I had kind of put it together really quickly. And something that I've learned is that everything that you do, you gotta strive for perfection.
Okay.
And you really gotta put time and work into it.
Okay.
And so this book would be my second book, but I call it the official. So I called it Poems of a West Side Native. And so I really took the time and got things the way it needed to be. And striving for perfection, you got everything copywritten. I went through that process. We got the ISBN, things like that. That's important. The goal for the future is to have this book on the shelves in stores where people can walk in and buy them. And even one day, years down the line, when I'm old or when the Lord called me home, in old age, that Second and Charles, somebody might walk into that store. If people don't know what Second and Charles is, we have a store here in Birmingham where you can get a lot of books for next to nothing. And sometimes like a lot of the old books, they'll cost $2 and $3 and $4 and $5.
Uh-huh.
So it might even make it to there, because so many people will own it. And then
Yeah.
they would go in there, turn books in and things like that. So they might sell it for a lot less than what it originally was, but
Right.
the older they get. But I definitely, just want people to be able to get it, be inspired. I talked about a little bit about social issues in the book. I'm not a strong political person, but there's some things just from how I see things in life
Yeah.
around social justices. I share that. So I look at it as an educational experience as well.
Okay.
As well as talking about me and my experiences.
Well, good, man. And you mentioned Second and Charles. I wasn't familiar with that store until probably about a few months ago. I was passing by there and I asked somebody what's in that store, and they told me about that. And that's great. Right. And see, you mentioned long after you're gone, somebody may walk in there and find that book, and they'll find it while you're here too. But speaking of long after you're gone, and that's what I like to tell people and encourage people about. The beauty of writing a book is a great way to leave a legacy. I used to be part of a Toastmasters club where we would do our own speeches. One of my speeches was about how to leave a legacy. And I talked about during that speech, the best way to leave a legacy is to write a book, because that book will be here long after you're gone. I use the example of Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss is long gone, but people still read Dr. Seuss's books. So that's great, man, that you're doing that. So, and you said that you self-published this book. Did you make any attempts to have it published by a mainstream publisher, or you just went straight self-publishing?
Yeah, I went straight self-publishing. I use Kindle Direct Publishing.
Okay.
And we got it on Amazon right now. So, if people want to buy the book, just type Poems of a West Side Native. And my author name is my government name, Edward J. Glenn. J is for Jamil, as Mr. Ced called me at the beginning. But you can get that book off of Amazon.
Okay. Do you have a website?
Not currently.
Okay.
Not currently, but that's going to be in the works in the future.
But what about your social media?
Right. Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Poet Jamil. Jamil is spelled Jamil, Poet Jamil. And you can connect with me there. You can email me at ejglenn87@gmail.com. And I'm very responsive. I love meeting people. I call myself the people's poet because I feel like poetry is all about the people. And encouraging people and just kind of being the change that you want to see in the world. Being an example for people, and it starts with our individual selves. So I love to share for the people.
Now, in your bio, I read something about you do open mics. Tell us a little bit about the open mics.
Right. Yeah, I started at Bars and Brews. So that was when a poet, a well-known poet, he passed away a little bit after 2020, and his name was Voice Porter. And so he was very vital to our creative arts community here in Birmingham. And it was sad that he passed away, but you could really see a lot of the impact that he made even in his passing. So many people poured out love and to his family and spoke about his life. I had the opportunity to share a piece at his memorial service and things like that. But I started there. I will say I was nervous, to get up on that stage. But one thing, it's like it's like you have to be able to, you got to step out. The only way that you're going to be able to share your art, you got to step out.
Right.
No matter how nervous that you might feel, sometimes you have to think of it from the perspective that the things that you're saying just might heal somebody else, or it just might be something that somebody else need to hear. And like even to this day, what makes me so glad that I've stepped out is that sometimes like I walk around Birmingham and just random people will approach me and say, "Hey, you're a poet. I heard you, and I heard you at this event." And you
Mm-hmm.
might not know them, and sometimes it might feel kind of scary,
Right.
living in these times. But
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
people to kind of know you and you be inspired by something that you said in your poem, or like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, it's something that we needed to hear. It
Yeah.
makes you want to get out and do it a lot more. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you might always have some chills when you get on stage, but I like to encourage people, step out. I
Yeah.
have a poem where I said that like we are all like God's poet laureates.
Mm-hmm.
We're prominent, we're highly esteemed. God, He's given us these words to share, and
Okay.
it's inside of us. And sometimes certain things might be hard to share,
Mm-hmm.
but there's some things that we need to share with people to show people how we heal from different past
Right.
traumas, things
Right.
like that. And poetry is for everybody. It's
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's great. You mentioned being out and somebody approaching you. You never know who you
Right,
might meet. I mean, just get out there and do it. I believe that we're not given these words for nothing.
right,
We're given these words to go out and share with the public. Somebody needs to hear what you have. But you know how we are. We try to be humble, and we don't think more highly of ourselves than we ought. But the word didn't say that we shouldn't think highly of ourselves. It just says don't think more highly of yourself than you ought to,
mhm,
because something you have to say may just heal somebody, may just help somebody. You
right.
never know. So getting out and doing those events like you do is great. You have another poem that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I could share another one. Just kind of uh, speaking into what we was just saying. I believe that God, He's like a poet. He's a
Okay.
creator, and like He spoke everything into existence.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
words is how we even came to be. He spoke us into
Mm-hmm.
existence. It's
Yeah.
what He did form us from the dust. He formed man from the dust of the ground,
Mm-hmm.
but that was creativity.
Right.
That
Right.
was art. And
Mm-hmm.
even when you look at earth, and when you look in the middle of the word earth, you see art.
Okay.
uh, but
I never knew that. That's cool.
right. So this poem I call Awaken, O Creative. And it says, today is a new day to awaken the creative inside of you. As long as you have breath, that means Papa God isn't finished with you yet. We are His poet laureates, prominent and esteemed, highly valued. We are worth top value. Our art is worth more than any dollar or cent. Today is the return of common sense, a restoration of consciousness and innocence. We are the greatest part of history. Born legends among many stars, the time is now we step into our identity, because our children are stepping into our footprints. We must strive to be a near perfect example, because our children will multiply and then amplify that example throughout many generations to come. They are our happiness beyond many sorrows. We are their protectors as the eyes of God gazes upon the sparrows. And that's the piece.
That's awesome, man. I'm snapping again. I'm snapping again because I can appreciate that. Now you mentioned the nerves before you speak, before you get out there and do what you do. I think that's natural, and I think that's
Mhm.
normal, and that's
Right.
good, because
Yeah.
if you're not nervous, then that just means you're depending on yourself. You're supposed to be
Okay.
nervous because you're depending on the Holy Spirit to lead and guide you and give you the strength and the ability to do what you do. You mentioned being creative, God being creative, in that word art in the middle of earth. I love that. But being creative is so special because I have a little thing that I used to do when I go out to schools and speak to kids. I created a song called Be Creative. And I talked about all the creative things in the world. I had a little boy walk up to me. He was probably in the second or third grade after the program. And he said, "Hey, Mr. Three, that song you did called Be Creative, you were talking about God, weren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I was, but I can't say God in the school." He said, "I thought so. I knew that's who you were talking about." So those creative genes, man, those juices, they get the flowing. I believe God had all of us on an assembly line when we were in heaven before he sent us here. And he was just saying, "I'll put this gift and talent in this one. I'll put this gift and talent in this one, and this one. And they're just to use it to my glory." And then he just sent us out. And that's what we do. Because my motto is God has a purpose for every man and a man for every purpose, meaning that he's put all of us here to do something. And even if somebody is doing the same thing you're doing, they're not going to do it the way God told you to do it. You know, I meet people who they'll say, "Well, somebody's already done that," or "Somebody's already written a book like that." And I ask them, "Well, what does that have to do with you?" You know, that has nothing to do with you. You're a poet, but your poet is not like my poetry. There are other people who have podcasts, millions of people who have podcasts, but I decided that I was going to do it anyway, because sometimes you just got to step out there and do this thing, man. And I really appreciate you for doing what you do, and even coming on the show and sharing your gifts and talents with our audience. I think is really great. So do you have any exciting things coming up here in the near future?
Not lately. At some point, I do want to release another book. I probably won't speak too much into it because I'm still kind of putting everything together. I do have a poem called, I would say, well, I consider the poem is called Black Boy Rise. So I want to make a book around that poem.
Okay.
You know, and I feel like there's something that's needed. So I do want to publish other books and do a lot more work with the creative arts community and serve more nonprofits, and just want to be an instrument, you know, to whatever that God has for me. I also really enjoy recording my own spoken word pieces as well.
Okay.
I love a lot of instrumentals and like old school samples and things like that, and recording my words, because even like after we as poets are gone, I try to encourage every poet, like, record yourself. I know someone might say, "Well, I don't like the way I sound." Don't worry about that. Even if it's not even with music, you could do a cappella, but it's good to have that, so that way people can go back and not just only read your works, but they can even listen to you say it and how you say it. And it makes it more personable, a more personable experience. And even after you're gone, like, your words last forever. I heard that there was a thing someone said, like, your words, when you speak it, they travel and they keep going. And some even say, you know, you're into the throne room of God and he hears it. And that's even why they say to be careful what you speak, and how the power of life and death is in the tongue and things like that. Words are powerful, you know, and it can really shape our reality. It can shape community. And that's why I encourage a lot of even rappers, you know, be careful of what you say, you know, and present positive things in your lyrics, because what you say is a reflection of how you think. And like all of your words, even in the community, like, if you start to speak positive things and stop the violence, respect women, if you start saying that over and over again, you'll start to believe it. Now, if you saying, "Hey, I'm gonna shoot this or rob that or do this, all these negative things," okay, you're gonna believe that. Like, you know, you got to know who you are, you know, say, you know, with our kids, I would always tell them, hey, say you're a king, or say that you're a queen, say you're a child of God, and you're gonna believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. Speak those positive things.
Right.
Speak
positive affirmations.
That's great, man. That's great. I love what you said too. Record yourself, record your own voice. That's right. Something that I may need to do. I've never recorded myself. I have videos and stuff where I've been going out doing presentations, but I've never really just sat down and recorded myself, because I can attest to that, not liking the way you sound on a recording. I don't like my voice. I don't have one of those voices, that, some people just have a voice, but everybody has a voice. Everybody has a voice. So that's great, man. Well, hey, Poet Jamil, thank you, man, for coming on to the Well Said Podcast. I really enjoyed having you here. If people wanted to have you come out and speak or do some spoken word or anything like that, how may they contact you?
They can email me. Again, my email is ejgle87@gmail.com. It's EJGLE with 2 N's.
Okay.
87@gmail.com, or Instagram, Poet Jamil, Jamil. Very responsive. Just reach out to me there, and we can definitely set it up. I love to be a part of anything that people have, poetry readings and different open mics and things like that. I would love to even travel out of Birmingham.
Right.
And I'm very highly motivated by the Black arts movement of the 70s, of the like Sonia Sanchez, man, from Birmingham, Margaret Walker. And so I definitely want to be able to leave a legacy and just share my words with as many people as I can while I'm here, and just inspire people. So,
well, great, man. We really appreciate that information. And hey, if you need an artist or a speaker to come out, somebody with some spoken word to inspire your people, contact Poet Jamil. His information is out there. Thanks again, man, for coming on. I really appreciate you joining us on the Well Said Podcast, because everything you said was well said.
Likewise. And I just wanted to say in closing, appreciate you and this whole platform that you're building. Is definitely needed, and it's definitely inspiring me to go along with my podcast idea as well.
Okay.
If people that's listening, would you get ideas, write them down, put them into fruition. But I appreciate you. No matter how old people are, it's never too late to start your dreams. So,
right.
Just go for it.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Well, thanks again, everybody, for tuning in to the Well Said Podcast. Hey, I want you to subscribe, share this thing, upload it, download it, all that good stuff that you do. Let everybody know about the Well Said Podcast, because we're going to be doing some exciting things in the near future. We're going to have other people on, like Poet Jamil. We're going to have other authors and speakers on here. And from time to time, we may venture off into even to some other categories. Who knows? But we're going to do this thing. But as always, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell so you'll get updates on what's going on. And I just want everybody to go out and continue to be great. Why? Because somebody's got to be great today, and it might as well be you. Take care.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Well Said Podcast. Tune in next time for another exciting and informative edition. If you need help on how to become an author or speaker, contact Cedric at cedric3.com. And thanks again for listening to the Well Said Podcast.